The stance of Suppression, a stance used by Akoya Seishu in Kengan Ashura against Imai Cosmo. It's not immediately apparent what it does, or why Akoya used it, or even why he hasn't used it again since, which is likely why I got the request to explain this technique from Sam Dermody. Thanks for waiting so long, homie. Even I was kind of in the dark about what this stance actually did before looking into it. We really just get a quick blurb about it from Hiyama, and then we're right back into the action of Akoya vs Cosmo, so it was up to me to interpret said quick blurb and extrapolate what exactly it does and why it was only used in this specific circumstance. First, let's examine the stance itself and compare it to real-life stances in Taiho-Jutsu and see if we can glean anything about it from its real-life counterparts. So far as I can tell, this technique, being that it was adapted from the fictional stance of the fictional style of a fictional character into the fictional stance of another fictional character with elements of a real style included, is fictional. That said, when compared to the stances of Taiho-Jutsu in real life, you can certainly see the similarities. Specifically, while Akoya's natural stance appears to be based on the most often used equipment of a riot police officer, a riot shield and baton but adapted to unarmed combat, the stance of Suppression much more closely mirrors the actual real-life unarmed stance of Taiho-Jutsu and the basic stances of Nippon Kenpo, one of Taiho-Jutsu's most prominent unarmed ancestor arts. Even when wielding just a baton and no riot shield, we see that the stance has the practitioner with their hands at waist level, and though they appear more bladed and less forwardly oriented, that's just because this practitioner is trying to lead with his weapon, and the stance of Suppression is specifically designed to be forward and aggressive to a potentially detrimental degree, but more on that later. We also see later in the Cosmo fight that the stance of Suppression also includes a high tight guard, very reminiscent of an overly aggressive Japanese Kenpo guard, so the primary inspiration from real life seems to be unarmed Taiho-Jutsu. Of course, this is a Taiho-Jutsu technique, but it was also adapted from Agito's natural stance to fit Akoya specifically, so this is just as much Taiho-Jutsu as it is Agito and Akoya's natural fighting style. So to look at how these character styles affect the stance of Suppression, and to what end, let's look more closely at what was said about it, what it does in the manga, and why it was used here and nowhere else as of the writing of this script. In the manga, it was said that the stance of Suppression was adapted from Agito's stance, a stance that was naturally devised by Agito from his combat experience that prioritized adaptability and versatility, but this stance has also in turn been adapted to match Akoya's build, and more importantly, his personality and fighting style. Now, we've already discussed how it adapted to his fighting style. It limits some of Agito's adaptability and versatility down to just Taiho-Jutsu techniques and techniques Akoya himself has devised separately from Taiho-Jutsu, but just how has this custom-made stance been modified for Akoya's personality? Well, simply put, it's a vicious stance hyper-specialized for attack. Matching Akoya's brutal and cruel nature, this stance more or less forgoes all defense for an all-out rush-down offensive. With both his extraordinary reaction speed and his shield technique, Akoya is one of, if not the most defensively effective annihilation legend in Kengan. So it should come as no surprise that, despite his brutality, Akoya's fighting style is a defensive one, naturally at least. The biggest shift between Akoya's normal fighting stance and style and when he uses the stance of Suppression is that he completely abandons his defense and focuses only on attacking and forward pressure. That's why this stance is more aggressively oriented than any Taiho-Jutsu stance in real life, because it's based on Agito's stance, which is already specialized for offense, and then further modified to be even more offensive to match Akoya's insatiable bloodlust and aggression. So, if that's the case, why has he only used it here? Well, consider the circumstances in which he used it in the Annihilation Tournament. Cosmo, knowing that Akoya's specialty was defense, used hit-and-run tactics to attempt to wear Akoya down before engaging him, even more so when he realized that Akoya was trying to bait him into offense with his Ripper like he did with Haruo, the Ripper being a move used specifically to irritate his opponent and instigate aggression. Since Cosmo wasn't playing ball and Akoya's defense was effectively useless, he decided to use Stance of Suppression. His arms are extended at waist level, hands open, and his whole body is leaning forward. At this point, he has completely abandoned defense and has left his head, body, and legs open for attack, but he's poised to attack like a beast stalking its prey, ready to pounce. Either Hayama or Akoya then claims that Akoya's use of Stance of Suppression will prevent Cosmo from being able to run, and Akoya proceeds to rush him down, cut off his escape, and bombard Cosmo with a flurry of punches and kicks, only ever defending himself with his raw reaction time, Hayama's predictions, his occasional high tight guard when he rushes forward at close range, and of course the sheer pressure of his forward assault. Now, that single-minded focus on attack left him open to zone, especially so, but his reaction speed is a good enough buffer even against the worst attack form in the tournament that he was able to save himself, and the rest is history. So, why here and nowhere else so far? Simple. Nobody has tried to use hit-and-run tactics against him since. Honestly, nobody since Cosmo has so effectively locked out Akoya's specialty, but it certainly came with a price. Even for Akoya, the nature of Taiho-Jutsu is a style that involves the use of minimal force as effectively as possible, since, if the arresting officer uses excessive force and injures or even kills the criminal they're arresting, it would impact their ability to get a conviction in court. Stance of Suppression's power is in that not only does it allow Akoya to sacrifice the defense that he specializes in for hyper-offense, but it also allows him to more easily and more naturally escalate the force he uses to lethal force even when using an inherently non-lethal martial art. There's also the added benefit that the constant pressure and unending onslaught of attacks also serves to not only lock the opponent out of any special techniques, but its relentlessness and brutality also wears down the opponent physically and psychologically. In the case of a normal fighter, this would be good. Now instead of being worn out by Cosmo, you're wearing him out and wearing down his mentality, making him more prone to surrender, but as we saw with Akoya, he has no interest in surrender. He only cares about his justice and making Cosmo suffer. Alright, I think that about covers it. Main takeaways? It's for pure offense, specifically to attack a fleeing opponent more effectively, and it's a move that combines Agito's stance, Akoya's personality and fighting style, and real-life unarmed Taiho-Jutsu. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you want more techniques and styles explained, and be sure to like the video if you liked this one specifically or want to help to hit the like goal for the next video. Now y'all have been talking some mad shit on my like goals, saying that I undersell them and that I can definitely shoot higher and still hit the goal. So first, I apologize, I did not recognize y'all's game. Next, the like goal for this video, the like goal to get the next combat clarification, a video explaining Pickle's forward-leaning stance technique for Wild Re, a video especially topical for manga readers right now, the like goal to get that in a week is 230. If you guys hit that one, the next like goal is going to be in the 300s, which I doubt you guys will actually hit, but maybe I'm just disrespecting y'all again, we'll see. Alright, I've been Red Fox, the immeasurable subscriber count, and this has been Combat Clarification, Kengan Techniques Explained. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.